What is up, bros? Me, Josh. In today's video, we're diving into the newest version of the Huang He, the Tier 6 Pan-Asian cruiser, the first cruiser from the Pan-Asian line, along with the two destroyers, Anshan and the Luoyang. And this has gotten a bit of an update. It had been kind of originally worked on without the smoke, and they've since added a quote-unquote Perth-style smoke, which we'll dive into a little bit. And it is, I guess, a little bit better now. But let's dive into the ship and kind of go over what they've changed and kind of what I think about the overall ship in general. So it is the first cruiser for the Pan Asian line, and the other two ships that you could have gotten for captain training are the Anshan and the Luoyang. The good part about this is switching a captain from one to another is pretty easy. Although it is a cruiser and cruisers tend to have a little bit different captains than the destroyers, it's still very, I guess, interchangeable when it comes to these captains. Although you're going to want to end up having, if you have the other two ships or one or the other, you are going to want to have its own captain. But it allows, since there's only a few of these ships, it allows for a good training back and forth because you can take the Huang He captain, throw it on a destroyer, the destroyer captain onto Huang He, and kind of use both ships to really train. So this ship, the main thing that it has gotten is the Perth style smoke. So let's compare it to the Perth, which is its main counterpart, which is another tier 6 cruiser. And so the Perth is very similar. It's a stealthy cruiser, tier 6, and it has a unique style of smoke. So they look very, very similar. The Huang Yi is a little bit smaller, but they have a special kind of smoke. And so when we're used to seeing smoke, they add, you basically, there's a small time to lay down the smoke, and then the smoke lasts for a while. Now this has a different kind of smoke where the smoke screen is active. Each puff is active for only 10 seconds, but you lay the smoke down for a long time. So what do you basically do? You add kind of this puff and a half of smoke consistently for 90 seconds. So you can kind of move basically the thought process about these ships. This is a very low detection. As you can see, the detection is 8.1 kilometers with a detectability captain. And a concealment captain, and you can get in, get very close to stuff, pop your smoke, and then start shooting from that, and then slowly make your escape, because every 10 seconds you have the smoke puff gets renewed, and well, it's laying smoke, and then the smoke puffs last for 10 seconds. So you can slowly make your escape, and then of course use your low detectability to then re-engage later in the time. This has been added to the ship, so this is now something that is going to make the ship a little bit more competitive. Although going against the Perth at tier 6, which is basically the same ship, with just some small differences, I still think the Perth takes it 1v1, of course, and just as a better overall ships because of certain things. But let's dive into the ship in general. And you've seen a lot of this is the main ship. The only thing that's really changed is the smoke. But we're still going to dive in and go over kind of all of the attributes for this ship as well. 26.2k for tier 6. It's going to be all right. I mean, you're going against stuff that has a lot more health, but the thing is, you're very low detectability, as well as having that smoke. So your trade-off is having that lower health pool. You're going to be one of the lowest at this tier for health pool, but you also have the lowest detection. Main battery 3x2 of 152s, 7-second reload, which is fine. The HE damage is fine, fire chance is fine, but only 6 shells compared to the Perth's 8 going out at only a 7.5 reload, so you are a little bit less of a gunboat when it comes to this thing. Now, one of the weirdest things on this ship is with its torpedoes, and of course your main bat is 13.2 kilometers, so you have 2 sets of 3, no big deal, right, for a cruiser. But this is the first cruiser that actually, I believe it's the first cruiser that actually offers a torp reload booster. So you've seen stuff like this in the Shiratsu, the Kagero, kind of the higher tier IGN captains. I think this is the first cruiser we've seen with this. I don't think this is useful really at all when it comes to this. If it was like 4 sets of 3 or something like that, I could maybe see that. But having only 1 set of 3 on each of these, I don't see it having too much effect. But it's very interesting that they've thrown it on this ship. I find it very, very interesting that they've thrown it on this ship. So torp reload, one thing I'd love to see on this, and I think it gives it a bit of a disadvantage against a ship just like the Perth. Basically, these are the kind of interchangeable. Is the Perth does have a spotter plane. As you can see, the Perth's range is only 12.8, and the Huang He is 13.2, so you get a little bit more. But the Perth has that spotter plane, so you can use it to get a little bit extra range, fire over mountains, stuff like that. Where the Perth can continue to pump out damage when it doesn't have its smoke, because with these ships, they're very fragile. They don't have that long of range, so what you do is you use your smoke, you do your damage, and then basically with the Huang He, you're waiting until the next smoke is up. With the Perth, you can continue to do damage from farther away as you kind of go in and out being a small ship. So the Perth does have that advantage, and it kind of limits how much damage you can do with the Huang He. One of the biggest standouts for the Huang He is how much AA it has. Yes, 72. 72 AA when it comes to the Huang He. And you could actually, I'll post a build down below that you could actually run with this ship. Now, for me, this is my Anshan, so that's why it's messed up a little bit. So it's very, very simple. Basically, what I went with this is priority target. What I would go with the Huang He, honestly, is I would go priority target. I like the smoke screen expert. I like this on these single puff ships. I'd then go superintendent, grab that extra smoke charge, and then grab concealment expert for that. So of course this is going to be a little weird, but you can run stuff like for a full AA build, like advanced firing training, which I'll put the build down below. Advanced firing training, manual AA, and BFT, stuff like that, and really make it. But you do lose concealment expert. But 72 AA. Now you do not have the manual, you do not have an AA consumable, so your AA is only going to be basically static AA as you kind of go through. But look at the values. Massive, massive damage at 7.2 kilometers. I mean, you're up there with Cleveland level AA when it comes to that. Cleveland's just a little bit higher at max range. So pretty nuts AA, being very, very annoying. And I could see a potential cool pattern for ships with the Huang He of being very, very, very specialized and being this kind of super stealthy anti-AA ship. But the thing about super specialized ships is they're good if their specialty is in the game. Let's say like anything's fully spec'd out for AA is in the game, then you're going to be there. Like, so going against maybe a CV or two at tier 6, which does happen a decent amount of times, you'd be very, very effective. But if you go into a game that doesn't have AA and you're fully AA spec in the ship, you're going to be kind of underwhelming with what you can kind of do. Maneuverability, the ship is small, it's relatively quick, and of course the concealment is very, very low. For modules, of course, I'm running all the premium stuff. With ships like this, you definitely want the smoke generator too. The premium version, get that extra stack. And kind of basic here, I ran the hydroacoustic. If you had the ability to run the smoke generator mod, as I run on my Perth right here, I would definitely run that, but you do have to trade out the AA. So depends on what you want to run with this, but the AA range is definitely nice to have, so you might want that instead, honestly, with this ship. But very, very basic kind of for the Huang He is what I'm running here. But I am running extra hydroacoustic because it is kind of nice on these ships. So let's dive into some gameplay and kind of show you guys how this ship plays and kind of comparing it to its Perth counterpart, which I believe is the stronger of the two. So here we are in game with the Huang He, and as you can see, we are mid-tier. I think tier 6 is doing okay with matchmaking. This ship, in my opinion, is going to have a tough time up-tiering and is going to be very map-dependent. Unluckily, I wanted to really test the AA, so we didn't get a CV, which is kind of a bummer. And I forgot to switch over to premium smoke, so pro strimmer there, but we still get to use it and kind of show it off. So this is where the ship is going to kind of excel. The more DDs, this is going to be a decent DD hunter, but the less DDs kind of the better for this ship, in my opinion, because you outspot everything other than DDs. Nothing will outspot you. So that is like basically the one upside of this ship when it comes to ship versus ship. You will outspot everything by a decent margin. The Perth is right there. You get a couple ships, maybe if they're spec'd out for concealment, they'll be relatively close, but you're basically going to outspot almost everything. Like Fiji, very stealthy ship. You can outspot it and kind of get some decent work. I mean, with an 8.3 kilometer detection, you can really start working on ships like this. So just pumping damage into a Fiji and of course getting those torps out as fast as you can. So that is the big advantage of this ship. And so what you can usually do with this ship is speed and generation of smoke is you can basically go about quarter speed and it'll continue to keep you in the smoke. 152 is going out. Got a little unlucky here on the Fiji for getting AP. I was hoping to get a couple more Citadels. There's one. And since he is a Fiji, he did slow down. He's not going to be going too far. I think those torps are going to be just fine. So what you can normally do is balance between like half speed and a quarter speed, and it's still going. That's why we want that smoke screen expert. Continue to keep pumping out. And I think we guessed these torps perfect right here. Now, I threw up my sonar. So you are pretty effective when it comes to like other cruisers, because they really can't spot you, although people are better. And of course, we snag them in torps. Good guess on that. So Huang He OP boys, taking on the Fiji. GG easy. So, but I think this thing will really excel when it comes to cruiser versus cruiser. Now you're going to be able to basically, hopefully, go in, fight that cruiser, not take too much damage, and then reset and go again. But you really only have, even with Superintendent, you only have 4 smokes, and after that you have to really, you're going to be very, very map dependent on what you can do damage with. And so, like, here right now, we're going to get some decent damage, and we're actually going to show some decent damage in this game. But, honestly, this is where you kind of just go meh. As soon as this smoke is done, which it's done for me now, this ship gets a giant meh. If that island wasn't there and this was a bit more open, let's say I was farther to the left, there isn't really much you can do in this ship, because you're just so map dependent. Now, if I am, let's say, on Two Brothers, which I remember having a really good Perth game in, I had the ability to use the Perth because I could continue to fire as I ran away with that spotter plane. Because the range on this is so poor, you have 13.2 kilometers to work with. That isn't too much, especially being such a low health, fragile cruiser. And, you know, although I am using the non-premium smoke right here, but still, sitting there for 4 minutes waiting for the next smoke to come out. Yeah, I think it's about almost cut in half of the premium, so it's not as bad. But there's just this massive downtime of just not really being able to do too much, and that's kind of how I felt. I wanted to get aggressive on this, and if I had smoke, I could have, but you just can't really do anything. And so that's why the Huang He for me really kind of just goes meh. There's this big downtime of not being able to pump out consistent damage, and I like this playstyle, and it's good because Wargaming has tried to make kind of a gimmick with all the premium ships and all these new ships and stuff like that, and they've done a pretty good job. I think the Perth is a lot of fun to play. I think it's a very underrated ship. I think it's a blast. I think the people who have the Perth enjoy playing it a lot, but this ship is kind of like another even specialized ship. The Perth is just better at dealing damage, so it's just stronger. 1v1, the Perth is just stronger. You're pumping up more shells. Smoke is you get that extra, the extra little bit out of the smoke, and as well as you just have that spotter plane to continue to pump out damage. For this, like right here, there's nothing I can do for basically a minute, almost 2 minutes. It's not like I can just go rush these guys or something like that. I just have to basically sit here. I can't go spot this guy because he's too close to me to get spotted. So I'm just kind of sitting here. There's not much I can honestly do. So we get spotted right here, and that's the only reason I didn't want to play. So I can kind of push these guys a little bit now using some cover of that island. But I'm interested, though, to see what Wargaming kind of does with this, because this is the first time we've seen, and I talked about it on my stream a little bit, of the potential for Wargaming making extremely specialized premiums. And I'm actually fine with that. Like, if you ran this thing full AA and you ran then a CV, like a CV div, this thing would be very effective. Imagine having Cleveland AA, consistent AA on a very stealthy ship. You're almost going to be like an Atlanta tier 6 without the AA consumable, and just pumping out massive damage on planes in the middle of a map. You'd basically almost be kind of like a Neptune or a Minotaur when it comes to this kind of ship. It'd be very good. I almost think that it might be a little too good if they even gave it the AA consumable. Like I said, though, it is a work in progress ship, so they could add some more stuff to it. I would love to see like a spotter plane or something like that, kind of like the Perth has. I could see them potentially adding that, since the Perth already has it and it's so similar. I just feel like the torp reload, I mean, in general, the torp reload probably would have killed this hood. Yeah, you're probably right, but we're getting to another situation where torp reload probably would have killed the battleship later. But honestly, I feel like the torp reload's not really useful. Your torp reload is pretty quick anyways, so something else would be nice, another consumable, either AA or just something different, because it's just, in my opinion, it's just not really worth it. You're not going to get that much out of torp reload, and most cruisers, or giving it like maybe like a second torp launcher to make that consumable a little bit more useful. But I would love to see a spotter plane. I think this ship would be very good if you had like a spotter plane, honestly. But right now we're just trying to hold down this corner, and we're gonna get this DD to come in and basically just hopefully take care of him. I think he dies, so maybe not the best play by him, honestly. There you go. Down you go. So you tried your best, Gata. So it's going to be good, though, at being a stealthy AA ship. I think it's a very fun, interesting play on a different style of ship, and I think it's a very, very interesting way that wargaming is going to kind of work at making, because that's what wargaming wants. They want these unique, and I thought this emerald might mess up and sit there, but he ended up didn't. And I bounced 4 shells on an emerald, the first time ever in wargaming history, I think. But we snagged that, and of course we get super unlucky with this Colorado being as far back as he was. I didn't know it, so I thought he was pushing forward, but he ends up being right there. That's like the worst thing to ever see. So we take a nice little double citadel from the Colorado, but it's no big deal though. We're gonna get out of here. We'll do some good damage. Of course, he's still at 152s. But the Huang He with the latest change, it's better. It needed that. It was pretty. I don't know. Pathetic is too hard of too coarse of a description, but it was pretty lackluster when it came to what it was before. It had this smoke, and I think this smoke was much needed. It was one of the couple things I thought, hey, if they add this, the ship would be very, very good. Or better, I guess, because it was kind of just this ship that just couldn't do anything, honestly. And you're just kind of sitting there getting destroyed by everything because you had no chance. So the ship is better, but the ship still left me wanting more. Honestly, for me, for what it kind of has right now, we did end up having a couple games. Now, I wasn't full AA spec'd out, so we had a couple games where we did play some CVs. I did shoot down some planes, not as much as I thought. So, AA consumable would, of course, make it extremely good. But I was left wanting more, and then honestly, just thinking about it, I was just like, there's no reason to play this over the Perth. The Perth is just a better version of this ship. You can do more damage, more consistent damage, and it's just, in my opinion, just a better ship overall. I think the Huang He is better than what it was originally, but really it's just a better ship overall. So taking a tier 6 cruiser like this, between the two, there's no reason. I think the Perth is a lot more fun to play. This can be a bit more troll, but it does have a potential to have, and I think we take out, we almost, I think, get a double strike here. So we survived that. Now, okay, I will agree here. This is the perfect situation of, I wish I had the torp reload, okay? This would have been perfect. How sick of a double strike would that have been if we did have the reload time? So, okay, we did 91,000 damage in the ship. I think all in all, as you can see, the Huang is a good ship. It's OP. I definitely don't think it's OP. I think that they definitely have a decent idea on their hands right now, and I think overall they have a decent ship, a better ship than what they did, and a more appealing ship than they had before, because before it was just very, very lackluster. But all in all, it can be fun. I could see them releasing it like it is right now because it is more effective with that smoke. It makes it much more competitive. I would love to see a spotter plane on the ship. I think that would just be like the perfect little thing, because you just have so much downtime without smoke on this that the Perth doesn't. So, you know, I guess that would be a good trade-off. Perth has the extra gun. You have the better AA. I think that would be a really, really good change it up. But the Huang He right now, it can be kind of truly fun. I think we got lucky with our situation in this game. We haven't had that many good games consistently, and I think it's very kind of map dependent, honestly. With the ship, it requires a little bit more of cover to be consistent in the long run. So I'm gonna call this ship the HuangMeh right now, because at tier 6, it's a tough tier to be a cruiser in, and it's a tough tier to be kind of a meh cruiser. And for this ship, without having a little bit extra to kind of use, and I think it needs one more tool in its tool belt to be this, okay, I'm game for this ship. And right now it's for its type of play, it's going against the Perth, and the Perth, I believe, is a great, fantastic ship, and this just isn't quite as good. So to me, it's the HuangMeh. It's all right. Again, it is work in progress, so they could change up some stuff finally. Let's kind of, maybe we can bump over, stick with this October Revolution. But that's it for me, though, guys. The ship right now, still work in progress. They could change anything. I hope they add the spotter plane, and hope they just make the ship kind of almost Perth level, and then it's good to go. Then it's a fantastic ship. Right now, it's all right though. But that's it for me, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. The Huang He, the Tier 6 Pan Asian cruiser, aka the Huang Meh. Remember, like and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.